Welcome everyone to another quick Slayer guide where I give you just the basic information so you can start slaying right away. Now, in this episode, I'm going to be showing you how to kill Living Wyverns. And these are one of my favorite creatures in RuneScape to kill because they're very profitable, up to around 12 million an hour if you are extremely good. I haven't quite been able to get that, but you can easily get, in my opinion, 8 million an hour from these guys. So that's great. So to get right into it though, let me go ahead and just give you some basic information about Living Wyverns. So first of all, there is no quest requirement, so that's awesome. You can check that block right away. However, there are some very high skill requirements, so that may be the only thing that could set you back here. So first of all, in order to even kill Living Wyverns, you're going to have 96 Slayer. So that's pretty high in and of itself. And you're going to want to have 90 plus combat stats, which probably won't be a problem if you've got 96 Slayer to begin with. Other than that, I also recommend that you have 96 Herb Lore for overloads and 95 Prayer so that you can use Turmoil, because that's going to be very important. And of course, Soul Split is important. But realistically, what we're going to probably use here is Deflect Melee. So you at least want to be able to use one or the other of those. But mainly Torment's going to be extremely helpful. Or, like I said, if you're using Melee, which I think you probably will, you'll want to use Turmoil. So other than that, you also want 96 summoning for the pack yak, and that's just because you can bring a lot of extra food, which is going to help you out, especially when you first start learning, and you're going to be able to bank all of the wyvern bones back at the bank and be able to stay for much longer while still maximizing that amount of money. So the Living Wyverns are located in the Asgardian Ice Dungeon, so they're really easy to get to. You can either teleport to Port Sarim and run south and drop down into the Ice Dungeon, or you can use the Dungeoneering Cape if you have that, and you can teleport straight to the resource dungeon that's there and just run a little bit further in the cave and you'll get there. And there's also a fairy ring, so you have a few different options to get there that's going to make this really easy. Other than that, the Wyverns are level 127. They give you almost 2k combat XP and Slayer XP per kill, so that's great. And their weakness is fire spells. However, I'm going to be showing you how to use melee because I feel like that is the most effective way to kill them. So on to the gear and inventory. So you're going to want some higher level gear for Living Wyverns because they can hit pretty hard. So you're going to want to have at least Nex armor or higher. So I'm talking Torva or higher basically, since we're going to be using melee. A Noxious Scythe or Drygores would be great. If you do use a Noxious Scythe though, you'll have to be a little bit more careful, and we'll get to that further in the guide. Some of the amulets, I mean really the best one you have, ones that I like to use are either the Amulet of Souls or the Blood Amulet of Fury. I mean those seem to work fine for me, and as always I like to use the Luck of the Dwarf Ring just to try to give myself a better chance of getting a rare item such as the Wyvern Crossbow in this case. Other than that, for the inventory, you're going to want to bring 2 Holy Overloads if you have them, if not Overloads and some Prayer Renewals. You're also going to want to bring 2 Wormfire Potions. Now this is essential because a regular super anti-fire potion is not going to protect you from Wyvern Fire, so keep that in mind. So you do want the Wormfire Potions. You're also going to want to bring roughly 8 Prayer Flasks and at least 1 Anti-Poison plus, which is really going to help you out against their poison damage that they do. I think it halves their damage, so that's going to be huge. So do not forget to bring that. Also bring some food and some winter storage scrolls for your pack yak so that you can bank all the bones. Other than that, some useful items. There's many different auras. The kind that I like the most, and I just seem to always go back to it. It's my go-to combat aura, to be honest with you, and that's the Vampirism aura. And that's just going to help you get a little bit of extra healing, especially since that you're going to be praying Deflect Melee on them. So that's the main gear and inventory items that I take with me. So now let me kind of give you a basic rundown of the environment that you're going into. So once you actually get into the Wyvern Cave where these Living Wyverns are, you're going to notice that there's these little fire pits all around. And that's because you actually will become colder and colder the longer you're down in the dungeon. And so you want to light one of those fires as soon as you get there, and I'm going to show you exactly where to go. But you want to make that a priority to light that and keep that fire lit the entire time you're there. It'll usually go out every couple minutes, and you just have to click on it and light it again. So it's not really too complicated. Now, here's the thing about it. So there's these coldness effects that kind of change up how things happen down here in the dungeon. So if you're warm, which is I think anything less than 25% cold, so 1 to 24%, basically what's going to happen is you're going to take a lot more poison damage, okay? And again, you're going to want to keep that anti-poison plus plus going so that it halves the damage, because you can still do quite a bit of damage to you with that poison. Now once you get to about 25% cold, you're going to start taking more attack damage from the Wyvern. So more melee damage, more magic, more range, whatever he's attacking you with, that's going to be increased, okay? But the thing is, you can negate that a lot more than you can the poison damage, so it's okay to be somewhat cold, and you're not going to be able to stand right next to the fire pit the entire time, so keep that in mind. However, you do not want to get anywhere close to 90%. I recommend staying 70% or below, like probably 50 to 70% is good, because once you hit 90%, you'll actually be so cold that your guy will get stunned for 8 to 10 seconds, and that is enough to completely kill you, because you're not going to be able to eat, you're not going to be able to use anything. So if that even happens to you, try using freedom to get out of it, and if that happens, as soon as you get out of the bind, you're probably going to need to instantly teleport out, because you can be put right back into that stunned phase very quickly because you're at that level of coldness. I've actually got to 100% cold before not paying attention, and that resulted in me dying, so be very careful with that. So the best thing to do is to just stay right next to them when you're killing them, by the way, because the other thing is you stay next to the fire pit, not too far away, and then you'll always be able to get a little bit of heat from you. So what I like to do is kill a Wyvern, go back to the fire pit for a second, kill a Wyvern, go back to the fire pit for a second, and that way you won't be too cold ever. And the last thing I want to talk to you about is the distance. So when you fight the Wyverns, since we're using melee, you want to stay right up next to them, like just one square away, like no square in between you, I mean right adjacent to them, because if you get outside of even just one space away from the Wyverns, they will start hitting you with these huge magic and range attacks that can do a ton of damage. So if you're right there next to them, though, you just have to worry about them dealing melee damage to you, and that's it. And that is much more predictable and easier to deal with, especially since you're going to be using a protection prayer against it. And that's pretty much the basics of the Wyverns. So let me go ahead and show you how I get there, and we'll get into how I kill them. So see you in a second. So now I'm going to show you how I get there using the Dungeoneering Cape, which I think is the preferred method. So if you activate the Dungeoneering Cape and you go over to the second page, you'll see this Ice Dungeon, Frost Dragon Dungeon. That's where you want to go. And once you teleport here, you're just going to want to run southwest, or southeast rather, and you're going to see the Wyvern Cave here. Now what you want to do is pot up before you go in here, including using your Worm Fire Potion and your anti-poison, because this is going to be taking place pretty quickly. I actually forgot to up my prayer. Go ahead and get your prayer activated, and you want to drop down this hole right here. As soon as you drop down, instantly run to the left here and attack this first Wyvern. And the reason you want to pray melee is because, like I said, they can hit really high melee. You wouldn't really think that they can, but they hit high melee damage, high range, and high mage. Whichever type of attack they're using is pretty powerful. So you want to take this first one out pretty quickly and light this fire here. And if you want to get guaranteed easy kills, this is the spot you want to stay the entire time. And be careful about this area, because these guys can all of a sudden attack you. But you'll notice that this Wyvern here, he'll spawn pretty quick, so you're still going to be able to get efficient kills, even though you're only going to be killing this one specific Wyvern. And so you'll see we can take him down pretty quickly, even using Drygores. Now you can kill him much faster, in my opinion, using the Lance. Or not the Lance, the Noxious Scythe. The one thing to keep in mind, though, if you're using any kind of a weapon like that, is you're going to be standing a little bit away, usually one space away. So what you kind of want to do is basically every single time you go to click him to fight, you'll have to take one step closer to him in order to be right in front of him. If you're outside of one square distance from the Wyvern, he'll start attacking you with his range and mage attacks, which can hit extremely hard if you're using melee. And I mean, honestly, even if you're using magic and his range attack hits you, you'll be dropped really quickly. So you got to be very, very careful that you don't get hit with those attacks. That's why I recommend using melee and always staying one space, or like right next to him, like right adjacent to him within that first space. And that's kind of why I'm using the Drygores this time, to use it as an example, because this way, every time you do attack the Wyvern, you're going to be in perfect position. If you use a Scythe, again, you're going to have to make sure that you're in that proper position so you don't get a little bit too far away and take a giant hit. And occasionally you still will get hit for a decent amount of damage like that if he just spawns really quickly and you're not prepared for it. But other than that, you can see too that they spawn really quickly and you don't really have a whole lot of time in between kills to actually bank your drops and pick up all the loot. So keep that in mind. So the other thing I wanted to kind of show you is down here, mine's kind of hard to see. This is your little freeze meter. I'm currently at 43%. So the lower your freeze meter goes, like I was already kind of telling you about, the less poison damage you take. But again, as you get to about, I don't know if it's 100%, but once you get to like 90 or 100% freezing, you can actually be stunned in place for, I believe, up to an entire 8 seconds. And yeah, that's an eternity down here because you could easily get killed. So what I recommend you do is don't let it get past 70 at any point, and every time between a kill or every couple of kills, kind of run up here and just stand by the fire, even if it's just for a few seconds, to sort of try to drop that freeze back down a little bit. But keep an eye on that. It's easy to kind of lose track of and not really pay attention to, and before you know it, you'll be stuck in place here taking a ton of damage and you're not going to be able to eat or anything like that. So definitely dangerous, so you got to look out for that. So you'll see here, I'm going to run back and just stand here for a second, and we're already going down pretty quickly. And again, if you just stand right here in this one area, you should be fine. You shouldn't really have multiple of them hit you at once. And if you start going out in this other area, I don't know, maybe I'm just not that good at it, but I find that you can be attacked by multiple of what is it, the Wyverns, pretty quickly. And before you know it, you got one attacking you with melee, one attacking you with range, one hitting you for mage, and it's just a ton of damage. So just stay in this little spot. And the other nice thing about this area here is you're still going to get one of the big Wyverns that'll spawn, one of those big ones with a ring around it for like Slayer tasks. And those ones are great to get to. They're a lot harder than these ones, so be very careful if you do attack them. Make sure you keep your health up because they can hit you for a ton of damage. But other than that, I mean, like I said, these guys are great for money. You can easily get, depending on how fast you are. Like, see this guy here? He just hit me like that, so I got to watch out. Run up to him quick, because if not, like I said, he's going to keep hitting me with that mage attack. So this is an example of what can happen. And keep in mind, I had to relight that fire. So that's something you kind of have to, get a good balance on how to do that. But like I said, as soon as I finish this fight and get my prayer back up really quick, I'm basically just going to run back over here most likely because I really don't want this other one to hit me, but he may. And get back into my position like I was talking about, and we'll get one more kill here before the end of the video. And you really don't want to have just like one food in your inventory, so be careful, as I pretty much do what I don't normally do. I like to keep at least 3 or 4 food in my inventory at a time, just in case you get hit with a huge attack. But other than that, I mean, it may take a few tries for you to get used to it. Don't worry if you die multiple times, just learning them. I mean, everybody's done that. So just remember, keep coming down here, get in the same location that I'm in, and I think that you'll get plenty of kills. So I hope that helped you guys, and we'll talk to you next time.